up in relationships.
Yeah,
I mean, I know I've messed up a
Yeah.
bazillion times. And I think the most important thing that I would want to teach our teenagers is how to talk about their mistakes, not in a way that they feel like there's no coming back from it, but in a healthy way of, okay, here's what happened. What do I do about it? Because I still want to live for God and I still want to follow God's best plan for my life, but I don't know how to do it. And I think a lot of times it's just, I don't know, maybe meeting them where they are and giving them something that we've gone through to be able to let them know, like, no matter what age you are, no matter what area of your life, maybe you've never struggled with physical issues in a relationship before, but you know what that shame feels like. So how can we talk about it in a way that, like, I don't know, shame is the enemy's way of making us feel less than. Shame is the enemy's way of making us feel like there's no recovery. But God's word says that as far as the east is from the west, like, that's how far I cast your sins. Like, like the waves wash over the sand, like your sin that you committed 3 years ago that you already repented of. What are you talking about? Because I already forgot that. I already forgave that. So I don't know what areas of your story you'd want to, like, just talk about. Of what shame have you felt, or what have you learned?
Well, like, for me, you know a lot about my story. Like, you know a lot about my testimony and stuff. But, like, with the idea of shame, it's interesting because, like, when I felt that shame, I didn't have a connection, like, with the Lord. You know what I mean? So I was in college, not college, I was in high school where, like, that shame was more like self-centered shame. Like, I just really hated who I was. And you know, like, about my friends and, like, people that I was close with when I was in high school, it was just, like, kind of toxic relationships, like, all around me.
Like, what were some of the things that they would say? When you say toxic, what do you mean by toxic?
My friends were the ones who, like, only got enjoyment out of, like, making fun of other people. And so I finally got to a point my senior year when I just didn't really want to do that anymore. And I was starting to notice that. But it was really through a relationship with a guy, you know about this, that everything kind of just, like, exploded. And in the moment, it was, like, probably, like, the worst moment of my life completely. And but then looking back on it now, it's exactly what I needed to go through and walk through to be able to help other, like, teenage girls who are walking through this season where, you know, you're giving yourself up to a guy because you just feel like you have to, you know? And so I just, like, hated who I was completely. And so that shame, like, looking at it now, I'm able to see that that was, like, self-centered shame where I just didn't have a relationship with the Lord, but he may have been using that to, like, notify me, like, hey, like, you're not really on track with me right now. And I think that looking back, I was able to use that experience to get to my lowest point, to realize that he's who I really needed, not this guy, not my friends, not people who didn't really care about me. So
what switched it for you then? Like, you say you're at your lowest of lows. How did you get out of that? Because now you're on top of the world. You're crushing life.
I know. No. Oh, no. But I have, like, a specific moment, like, in high school where when I say, like, the lowest of lows, I'm talking about, like, crying on the floor of a dirty bathroom, like, at a party, you know, and just realizing I hate, like, who I've become. Like, I hate this. Why am I trying to get validation from guy after guy after guy? The guy that I care about is, like, in the next room with another girl right now. Like, how did I get to this point? Like, how did I get here? And I remember thinking that, like, over and over again. And so that moment specifically is a huge part of my testimony because it was from that point that I feel like I, like heard the voice of God, you know, in a sense, where he was like, hey, I'm not mad at you. Like, I know you think that I'm mad at you and that's why you're going through this, but I'm not mad at you. And it was after that I kind of started going back to church slowly but surely. Thank the Lord, like, I had some friends who already went to church, you know, and they kind of started pulling me back into that that environment, and it was great. And it was definitely a process. It was not overnight, like, at all. It was definitely a process to get me back into a place where I felt like I was worthy, you know? So I think from there, it took, like, almost really just years of growth and years of conversations just like this, you know, with friends who want the best for you and not just want, like, whatever is like trendy and popular right now. So yeah.
Just, it's crazy thinking about the weight that carries even 10 years down the road.
Yeah, I think if I could tell like high school girls specifically something today, it would be to look for a guy who's going to pursue you and not push you, and to know the difference between the two of those.
That's
because
great.
Today I think it would be so good to, or so easy, to confuse the two, and think that he's pursuing you. When he's really he might be pushing you into something that you might not be ready for. And maybe this could even be from like a male aspect as well, like not just a female perspective, but a male perspective too, of knowing the difference between a pursuit and a push into something.
How would you describe that?
I think that, especially when it comes to something physical, that society everywhere is just pushing us into, like, this is how you can determine if someone is right for you and how much you click physically.
Oh, yeah. You're saying that's what the world says.
Yeah,
it's like, that's your number one indicator if you click.
If you click, it means that like you connect physically,
Yeah.
And whereas the topic of sex, like, is something that God intended for us. He intended that for us to the point where it's biblical, and it's also sacred, and that's something that we lose sight of a lot of times. And so, I think just because of what we're taught in our culture and our society, it's that's one of the main pillars like of any relationship, and it's not surprising when you lose that attraction and the relationship like dissipates, So
yeah. What would you say is the thing that can help to process that shame, or to help get us through the cycle of these relationships? And how are we navigating relationships? Are we messing up maybe? Like what is the thing that makes it all possible?
I would say that the first thing, when you said relationships, this is what I first thought of, is that too many times we actually put like too much weight on relationships, and we give them a weight that they were like never meant to carry. So Jesus Christ is your anchor.
Yeah.
But if you make that person an anchor, like if I make you my anchor, you're essentially just like another boat, I guess, and you're gonna get rocked by the waves, just like I'm gonna get rocked by the waves.
Shoot.
And so if we're connected to each other, then we're just gonna like sail away and drown or something like that.
That's a great illustration.
But essentially, like, Jesus Christ is our only anchor. So you first have to like plant yourself and root yourself with Him.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the relationships that we have like with our friends and how we can help each other pursue Christ, that's where you really need accountability. And so for you, like you were that person for me in college where. There you go. But like if you saw me struggling, or you saw me going down a path that like wasn't the best version of myself, you didn't hesitate to step in and just talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Because you knew my story, you knew who I was, and you knew you wanted the best for me as well.
And I don't have to wait for you to come to me and say, hey, I've been dealing with this.
Right,
like,
exactly.
because we're invested and because you're my person, I know it about you, and we're comfortable enough where I can say, hey, you good? Like a few weeks ago we talked about this, but I think that is the one thing that got me through my high school years, was having that friend, this one friend, Christina, in college. There was one summer where every night we were at each other's house spending the night, and we did life together and really learned what are the struggles and what are the temptations and what are the areas of our life where we need to grow the most in. And she was able to say, hey, you didn't text me back for 3 hours, but I know you were with Nick.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right.
And I was able to say, hey, well, he pressured me into feeling this way, and now it created an open opportunity for us to talk about it.
Yeah.
Where in the back of my mind now, I'm going into a situation, I'm like, oh crap, Christina's gonna ask me about it. Do I want to face that relational repercussion of the accountability? I think accountability is the thing that helps, not just in the self-talk of like the condemnation, because I know when I'm by myself, I'm like, okay, I'm worthless. Okay, I'm not good enough anyways. And then you end up talking yourself into doing something you regret because you're telling yourself over and over again, well, I'm not worth it anyways. That's what the enemy wants us to believe anyways.
What does it matter? Yeah.
But when you have an accountability partner, now it's like Lizzie's in my brain with me, even though she's not here. Oh gosh, what is Lizzie gonna think of this? Because I'm invested with you, like we do it together, you help me through it, and I know that there's gonna be a real conversation later from it.
I've had a lot of conversations recently with some of my friends on needing to find new friends in their lives and being so afraid of like that transition and that moment. oftentimes we're not going to have the same friends our entire lives.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that right now today, but at the same time, God is really opening doors for like new relationships. And if you're seeking healthy relationships, He's going to provide you with those if you look for it. But it may mean turning away from ones that created a lot of discourse in your life or toxic attitudes in your life, whatever that looks like. And it's really scary in the moment. But for some of our high schoolers or middle schoolers who today are seeking for their right friends, they also need to understand that it's going to mean maybe turning away from some people in your life who have just caused a lot of heartache for you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think a piece of that too, thinking that there's a super friend. Yeah. Like I'm looking for one person in my life, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a husband down the road, that they're everything I need in one package. That's totally unrealistic. Yeah. I might have you as an accountability partner, and I might go to this person to talk to about funny things. You know, we talk about memes. You and I talk about like spiritual stuff, or this friend over here is for let's go on extravagant adventures or whatever. But I think it's okay to know that there are certain people in my life that I can lean on them for accountability. Yes. I can lean on this person for advice, because sometimes the accountability partner might not have the most sound advice. Yeah. They might be telling you all of these things that are crap. And I think it's okay to spend some time figuring out who in my life has God positioned for different purposes, and being okay with having multiple people speaking to those specific areas of your life where you have the connection on.
Absolutely.
We believe in the youth!